Shalom, loved ones. My name is Troy Cady, and I invite you to join me now as I offer this special time of prayer during the season of Lent with PlayWell communities. PlayWell is a faith network of those who are learning to live by the unforced rhythms of grace. And during Lent, we are inclining our hearts to God's, stirring up an awareness within us of the deep, deep sorrow. It's a time of lament and getting in touch with our need for God's compassion and mercy. And so in the light of that today, we simply offer up a prayer and some reflections on our need for mercy. With that, let's get ready. We light this candle as a reminder that Christ, the light of the world, has mercy on us. There's a prayer that we'll open up with here. God of compassion, do not withhold true mercy where you know there is true misery. Let's meditate on that prayer now a little bit. God of compassion, do not withhold true mercy where you know there is true misery. God of compassion, do not withhold true mercy where you know there is true misery. Here's some reflections on that theme of God's mercy and our misery. We are at God's mercy more than we would care to admit and more than we realize. We don't know that we don't know. This may be our biggest problem, but never mind. The extent of God's mercy is not contingent on our awareness of it. Thank God. Still, it is good for us to meditate on it and at least try to understand its vast dimensions. Of course, we will never be able to comprehend God's mercy entirely because it is infinite and we are only finite. Bullfrogs could no sooner design a high-speed train than we could understand God's mercy. Perhaps we don't meditate very often on the extent of God's mercy because we don't want to think about the extent of our own misery. Our misery is also beyond our comprehension, though it is less extensive than God's mercy. This is all we need to know, just that God's mercy is greater than our misery. Still, it is good for us to consider just how deep our misery reaches. There are two chief types of misery: the kind that comes from sinning and the kind that comes from being sinned against. Either kind provides an apt occasion for grief. If we don't lament this state, then something is truly wrong, and we have even more reason to be miserable. But never mind. The extent of God's mercy is not contingent on our awareness of it. Thank God. Still, it is good for us to meditate on it. We've heard this before, I'm sure. Ephesians 3:18 and 19 says, I pray that you may have power to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge. I invite you now to think of one area of your life where you need God's mercy. And ask God to grant you an extra measure of grace in that area, and know that God is merciful. And then thank God and simply say, I love you. God of compassion, do not withhold true mercy where you know there is true misery. Amen and amen. Well, thank you for joining me today in this special time of prayer during the season of Lent with PlayWell Communities. My prayer for you is that you will know God's mercy for your own misery, and that you will experience that mercy firsthand. Beloved, because you are beloved.